and welcome. Welcome to episode 36 of the Mind and Muse Crafts Podcast. I am your host, Caroline. And if you are joining me for the first time, well, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I am a math professor on the western side of the island of Puerto Rico in the Caribbean, where I live with my husband and his pet dog. And every couple of weeks, I come here to share the crafty side of my life. So this is a crafting podcast. Lately, I would call it more of a crochet podcast because it's what I am doing most often as of late. But every once in a while, I will share with you whatever other crafty bits I have been up to. So thank you for joining me. It is Wednesday, November the 13th, and it is about 10 a.m. here when I am recording. It is November, guys. It is already November. Incredibly, we have reached November. The year has gone by zooming. It has gone zooming by. And before we know it, it will once again be that time of the year that nobody wants to mention too soon. But a lot of people are very thankful and very happy that it comes along, which is the Christmas holidays, the end of the year celebrations, and the beginning and the receiving of a new year. So it is just amazing. So let me begin by just sharing the first section of this podcast, which is called Walking the Talk. And it is simply a section where I share with you past makes, things that I have made in the past, and a little bit about bringing them back to life by showing you that they're still here with me, that I still use them and how I use them. And every once in a while, like today's make, it is something that I have actually brought back to life through a rebirth. It has been recreated or redone. So what I am wearing today is a necklace. It is probably, I would say, about 24 inches long. Gemstone and sterling silver. And the stone is a beautifully made Labradorite, green Labradorite. These are long ovals and rounds. There are also some puffy ovals and chips at the end. Well, the chips at the end is the part that I redid recently because the necklace was, as these things go, you make them in one moment where the fashion is short necklaces, and then now the fashion is long necklaces, or you develop a preference for long necklaces. So this is the type of thing that can be redone, and it doesn't cost that much. It's better than just throwing them out. It's better to reuse. And I'm in love with gemstones, so it would be very difficult for me to throw away a gemstone necklace that I have made. And when I was making them, I really tried to use materials that would last. So high quality, well, as high quality as budgeting money can purchase, right? But it's been years. It's been several years, and I still believe that it is in tip-top shape. I did wash it. I gave it a wash so that it would shine again, because things oxidize very easily here on the island because of the fact that it's so humid and the tropical air and all that. But give it a remake, and I am very, very happy. Very, very happy with it at the moment. So it does have a closure, a link, but I can slip it on over my head. And I'll just stand up for a second so you can see what I mean about my next comment. The thing that I like about it is that I have placed weight. This silver bead here is pretty heavy. I have placed weight so that as you wear it, it doesn't do the boob thing, It doesn't do the boob thing. It stays in one place and doesn't cross over to my side. So that is very good. Not all my necklaces do that, but this one did do that because of the actual weight that it has, bringing it down. It's a little bit like a rosary style necklace, but that's okay. I'm still in love with it. I love Labradorite, and it's got matching earrings too. I only had chips left, so I made the earrings out of chips. And I've, a while back also, to complete the set, purchased my Labradorite ring. So I am covered in Labradorite today. So way back when I was into gemstone making and collecting, one of the things I like to read a lot about were the metaphysical properties associated with some stones, and Labradorite has a beautiful history. Labradorite has a wonderful collection of metaphysical properties associated with it. So Labradorite is a fabulous stone. It is said to have metaphysical properties that allow it to collect negative energy that is around you. It helps to banish fears and insecurities. It is said to strengthen one's resolve. And so I love wearing it. It does have some healing properties also for it. It is associated with healing properties for some illnesses. So yes, it's an interesting thing to read about if you're into that sort of thing. Labradorite is a great stone to look up, and it is beautiful. It's iridescent, so it shines. You can shine right through it. And at the same time, it's semi-solid, so it's got a lot of properties that make it a fantastic gemstone piece and a fantastic jewelry piece to have in your collection. So that is my walking the talk for you this morning. And with that, I will move on to the next section of my podcast, which is the section where I present projects that have reached the end of the line. Projects that have reached the end of the line. Well, this week I've got a couple. Not a lot. Some of them were done very, very close to where my last podcast was recorded, and so I've had them for a couple of weeks. That's why I'm kind of like questioning myself. So the first thing I'll share with you is a doily. You all know that I've been on a doily. I wouldn't call it an obsession, but yes, a doily discovery, where I recently discovered how much fun it is to make these miniature projects and how satisfying it is to see all these little things around your house. So let me share with you the first finished object, which was completed very close to Halloween. It was a doily. It is called, what's it called? Jack in the Web. It's called the Jack in the Web doily. Here it is. It is a doily pattern, once again by Martha Glassner. If you remember that I did the Boo pattern was also from her. And this is a beautiful pattern. It is quick to make up, simple to follow, the directions are clear, and it is so, so pretty. It is just so, so pretty that it just, I can't get over it, how pretty it is. I'm pretty sure that, not with a lot of effort, you could probably take the faces off and just make the pumpkins, fill in the pumpkins, instead of doing these, the little filler crochet, you could just crochet, fill the stitch with the normal single crochet, and you would have 4 pumpkins in a web if you didn't want to use it like for Halloween or anything like that. But it is very pretty. It's very easy to make, and it was fun to make. I love having it around. Unfortunately, I made it the day before Halloween, so I wasn't able to put it up much, but I am going to share it in a safe place. I'm going to save it, in a safe place, and I am going to remember to take it out next year very early during the month. So this week I was watching the Potter and Bloom podcast, and Emma Potter of the Potter and Bloom podcast had also made some pumpkins before the end of Halloween, and she showed her first attempt, and when I saw her first attempt, it was a giant pumpkin using the same pattern that I had used for my miniature pumpkin. As you remember, I had made this one using the little rustic pumpkin pattern, and she used that same pattern, but she made a fabulously gigantic pumpkin, and I had been thinking about making a larger pumpkin. I had thought that this one was going to be larger than it actually was. So I'm thinking that if you use, and I remember that I used a worsted and a fingering weight held together. So maybe if you had only used the worsted, or I don't remember if she used decay, they would have been a lot smaller. So I thought I was going to get a pretty large pumpkin here, and it is pretty big, but not as big as I wanted it. And I had this dream of making a white pumpkin. I had in my stash for some time now several skeins of this Lion brand, Hometown USA, and this one is the Los Angeles Tan. Los Angeles Tan. You probably can't read that anyway. But then I thought, well, if I have, this is super bulky. So I thought, well, if I make it up with that and I use a larger hook, the pumpkin ought to come out larger. So that's what I did. I used the same little rustic pattern, and I used this Lion brand yarn, and here's my pumpkin. It's not white, but it is an off-white. And a couple of years back when I had a visit to New Hampshire, we were able to go pumpkin picking, and they did have white pumpkins, and I was able to, they were small, but I wasn't able to bring it back with me. But while I was there, I enjoyed seeing the white pumpkins. So this is my white pumpkin. I used the same pattern, but if you remembered that I had mentioned when I was making my first pumpkin that I had thought about not doing the crochet in the third loop every row, because then you get ridges on the front and you get them on the inside. You really don't need them on the inside. Nobody's going to see them. And I found that I was a little bit slower when I was working into that third loop with the thicker yarn. Anyway, I did it like every 3 rows, which is probably something you probably really can't tell the difference much, but because of the fact that it's so big, you would expect it to be wider, but here's the size difference. But with this one, I wanted to make a crochet stem because I was all out of cinnamon sticks anyway, and I make my own homemade chai tea, so I used my cinnamon sticks. I didn't want to put them into the pumpkin, but anyway, I did want to crochet it, so there I crocheted a stem and just sewed it to the top. And to make that crochet stem, I basically followed instructions from this pattern. Sun's Pop Keys, it's called. The site is called. Let's see if I can get it. It was looking better before. There you go. Sun's Pop Keys, and it's got a free crochet pumpkin pattern. And she gives you instructions for making these 2 pumpkins and the stems. So I thought her stems were gorgeous, and I basically used her instructions to create that stem. I have no idea what the yarn is. It was just something that I had in my leftovers, that little box of leftovers that you accumulate to use as stuffing or whatever. I had some left over, and so I used a double, and I did stuff it a little bit. Maybe that's why mine doesn't go all squiggly scrolly like hers, but I think it looks very nice. And since I celebrate Thanksgiving here, and for Thanksgiving I like to decorate as much as I do like to decorate for Halloween or for Christmas, well, I'm going to have a white pumpkin as part of my decoration this year. So I'm very happy with that. And I think that will be the end of those seasonal projects. Okay, so those are my end of line projects. Everything else that I have are whips. And so let me begin by mentioning that we are, well, I tried. I tried to encourage you all to participate in a doily exchange as part of the feeling that is associated with the upcoming season, although I know that not everybody celebrates the holidays, the Christmas holidays or the New Year holidays, and definitely I know that not everybody exchanges gifts for that time of year. But I have always thought that exchanging gifts with people, especially people that are not really close to you, they are acquaintances, but you just want to be nice to somebody. And I thought it would be a good idea for us to have a doily exchange because the doily is small, it can be easily packaged, it weighs almost nothing. Cotton yarn, cotton thread is not that difficult to find, and it doesn't really take that long. There are many free patterns that you can find on the internet, and so I thought it would be a good thing to start out our ventures in exchanging gestures here in our little community. It didn't get a large response, but we've got about 5 people participating, and I did the selection, and everybody's been assigned their partner, and I believe that everybody has contacted their partner, and so hopefully nobody's going to back out, and we will all each receive in the mail sometime during December, maybe early January, I don't know how long. The actual exchange is running from the 1st of November to the 1st of December, and after that, sometime during those first 2 weeks of December, it is supposed to be our commitment to send out in the mail the doily that you have made for your partner. So I hope it all happens. I hope nothing goes wrong amongst us, and that it can be that activity can be completed. I've had fun making my doily. I have had fun in the Ravelry group exchanging comments with those that have gone there, and so it has not been a loss. I mean, people need to participate where they feel the desire to do so. Nobody should feel obligated, and I just thought it was a good chance. Most doilies don't require very advanced crochet skills, and so you can do with basic skills and still make a fantastic make. And just that experience of exchanging with somebody that is like-minded, that you know will very well appreciate handmade, gives it an extra boost. So I'll share later on in my upcoming podcast, once it's all over, what our experience was and if we would all be willing to do it again. Some people are really got on a roll and didn't make one doily, they made 2 or 3. Maybe not necessarily to exchange with the partner, but the idea is that you've made one and then you keep on making them because they're such easy makes. The pattern that I have chosen I wanted to share because I looked through so many patterns in order to decide which one I wanted to make, because the thing about this is that you also want to make something that you enjoy. I don't want to make something just because the other person requested it, or something that I find is too difficult or time consuming for the time that I have to invest in the project. So it took me a while to sit down and look through and see what was the pattern that I wanted to exchange, what I wanted to give to my partner. So I chose a pattern. I've all told you in the past that I'm a sucker for names. So whether it is the name of a yarn colorway, or whether it is the name of a pattern, names attract me. So I saw this pattern, and it is a free pattern and it is downloadable. So and I do have the larger version of this pattern in my library on Ravelry, but I hadn't seen that the designer had made a smaller version. It is called Rings of Change. It is called Rings of Change, and it is by Frank O'Randall. Frank O'Randall. So I figured that it was my first in working with a pattern that was designed by a male crocheter, and that really made me happy. And I also thought it was extremely beautiful. The reason it is called Rings of Change is because every single round of the doily uses a different stitch pattern. But just the name Rings of Change brought so many things to my mind. I mean, if I knew that this doily was called Rings of Change, every time I looked at it, it was going to have a special meaning for me, because there is nothing more evident and nothing more certain is what I'm looking for, the word I'm looking for. Nothing more certain than change. And so every time I look at that, and hopefully my partner, every time she looks at that, she will consider the changes that she's going through, that her life is going through, that her crafting is going through, that her children are going through, and she will know that it all goes around. Change is a part of life, change is certain, and you can make it through it. It's just a part of the circle of life. So I really, really, really loved my choice here. I am really loving also the pattern. It is very nicely written. It is on Ravelry. You can download it in PDF. And this is the mini Rings of Change, because he produced the first version of this was a large 144 row blanket, not a doily. And so this doily uses only the first 44 rows of that pattern. But let me show you what the complete pattern looks like. Oh, let me see if I can get, here's a better view. It's not the best view, but you can look him up on Ravelry. I'll put the link in my description box below. And for a slight moment, I felt the temptation to make the blanket. But as I have been working on, now he says it can be used for a bedspread. I don't know how you put round bedspreads on rectangular mattresses. So I don't really know how that would look like. But he says it's a bedspread, a baby blanket, or a doily, all depending on your choice of border and your choice of thread and or yarn and hook. So that is Frank O'Randall. It is on Ravelry. That is Rings of Change is the blanket, and the mini Rings of Change is only the first 44 rows of the blanket. I have chosen to do it in a solid. I am working with this beautiful lilac color that I purchased to make gloves for the wedding and never used. So this is Aunt Lydia's number 10. I believe the color is lilac. Wood Violet. It is called Wood Violet. So it's size 10, Aunt Lydia's, and it's called Wood Violet. And I have worked up to now 14 or 15 rows. And it will need a blocking, but this is that first part of it that you could see in the photo. Before it next coming up, it will have some rows of filet, crochet, and some lace, whatever, but that's the beginning of it. It does need a wash, a soak, and it does need to be blocked, but I think that's going to look very nice. And so, hopefully, that's inspiration for somebody out there, and I'd love to see somebody make up that blanket. I didn't check, but I can check for you if you want to see if anybody on his project page, there actually is somebody who has made the blanket. The Rings of Change is not a free pattern. The mini Rings of Change is a free pattern, but not the complete version. So, oh my goodness, yes. Here's one. Let me see if somebody actually took a picture of that. I am just going to Ravelry under Ravelry Rings of Change, and it's going to come out, and I am looking at the project page. and the featured projects. So here's one in all the colors. They'll look much better when you get them on your computer screen, but yes, they are beautiful. So there's motivation for you. Oh yeah, I would love to have it. Let's see, how many people have made this? It has 894 projects on Ravelry. So there. So there. That is the beginning. Just so that my partner knows if she watches this podcast that I am well into it. I am working daily on it. I am trying to get every day 2 or 3 rows done so that it'll be out in time, and hopefully that strategy will work. The second project that I am working on, my second project in this pressing on section, is also something that I started anew, and it is reaching its end, but unfortunately not so. Okay, I started the Vanya Cowl from Hannah of the Cozy Crochet Cottage podcast. She's also a crochet designer. If by any slim chance you are not following her on YouTube or on Instagram, and one of her more recent patterns was the Vanya Cowl, based on a character from the Umbrella Academy. And let me see if I can look it up for you and show it to you here so that you get a better picture. The Vanya Cowl is a uses lace weight yarn, and here's a picture from her. This is from the actual pattern. One skein project, I do believe. She uses approximately 400 yards of lace weight is needed, and she used 2 skeins of Fat Bunny yarn silk petal base in the colorway Dahlia. It's 100% recycled silk, 300 yards and 50 grams. So she used the 2 of them, but not completely, because she says that she uses 400 yards and a 3.25 millimeter hook. So I took up this project using Billum hand-dyed yarn. It was a yarn that I believe Clarissa Beth purchased for me on her first trip to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. And she'll correct me if I'm wrong. But by some means of Clarissa Beth, this yarn entered my stash. It's called Billis. It's 100% silk. 100% silk. And it has 100 grams, and it gives me 600 meters, which is maybe 620 something yards. So yes, 620 something yards in 100 grams. So it is a bit thinner than the yarn that Hannah used for her project. She had 300 yards in 50 grams, which would be about 600 yards in 100 grams. So mine is a bit thinner. But did I realize that when I began? No. Did I think about that? No. Did I do a gauge swatch? No. So, and she does give you the gauge. I have enough of it now that I could probably check my gauge, but why? Why do it now? I am almost at the end. Well, I say almost, but I'm still missing probably 4 or 5 rows. Probably 6 rows, I think. But anyway, this is the yarn in Persona. Notice the sheen. It's very bright, terribly soft, lace weight. And this is what I have up to now. This is what I have up to now. This is going to be very easy to use in the tropics because it is 100% silk. No wool in this one. But look how short it is. If you'll notice, the one that Hannah is wearing, it is well beneath her boob. So that is the effect of using that yarn that is just slightly, maybe just a bit slightly thinner, but it obviously made a difference in my gauge. I was supposed to get 41 inches and I only have 35. So I am 6 inches below the length. And I mean, it could be used like this. It's not that I don't think it could be used like this. It's going to be closed at the end once it's done. So it'll be a cowl, not a scarf or anything like that. But I mean, it could be used like that to just throw on top of maybe a solid colored or just to give you a little bit of warmth around the neck. And it's just so soft and so luxurious that who wouldn't want to wear this around? I mean, instead of a necklace, I would wear this. So I am thinking, I had to think about it. And my second thought is I think I am going to make a 6-inch long piece, which I can do because she tells me that in order to shorten or lengthen the pattern, I just have to stick to a certain stitch count, and she mentions it in the pattern. And I'm going to add, I think, the 6 inches here, which will connect to both sides. And so that it doesn't look that bad, I am going to add beads to that section. So I would wear it like this, right? And it would have a beady part right down here. So it will look like it's attached, but it will look like the attachment has a purpose, and a purpose of adding some bling to the scarf. And so since it's going to be heavier, that will lay at the bottom, and it will keep my scarf hanging correctly. So, it's going to be a beauty even though it's so small, and I'm going to love it to death. And so I am missing just one more pattern repeat. One more pattern repeat here, and then these 2 rows that are here are repeated at the end, and that would be it. So, like I say, I would be almost done, but I'm going to add those 6 inches to the bottom so I can reach the 41, and so that it will have like that blingy effect without having the effect of saying, oops, I made a mistake. It will just be, and there's no fault in the pattern. There's no fault in the pattern. There's no reason that should have happened other than the fact that I did not check my gauge, and I did not check to see that my yarn was specifically the same thickness as hers. I'm using my lace is a lot lacier. My lace weight is a lot lacier, and so I also could have checked the length of my piece when I was at the beginning. Maybe I had a couple of rows. I would have realized it was 6 inches off, and there I would have had still the nerve to rip back. But after doing so much, lace weight takes a while. After doing so much, I don't want to rip it back. I don't want to. So I am either going to make do with it as is, just close it up and use it like that, which I think you can still do. It reminds me of the scarves that used to be used like in the 60s, 70s and all that. And I will use it as is. It could be tied onto your head if you were in one of those cars where you need to keep your hair into place. Or I will add the 6 inches, but with bling, with beads, so that even though it is a piece that's going to be attached to it, it will look like it was purposely designed to be that way. So here, no mistake in the pattern. It's just me being me, being me as a crafter. And so It didn't need the bling. It didn't need the additional, any additional traction. It would have been lovely just as it is, but it didn't need, well, I might need those 6 inches. So if I decide to add those 6 inches, I'm going to do so with a little bit of bling so that my two seams looked like they were made on purpose. Okay, so that is a lovely make. If you have some lace weight around that you never knew what purpose to give to it. I know a lot of you are in the colder months of the year, but there are some places like here that are tropics, or some people that are in the other hemisphere where they're starting spring and soon they'll have summer. And so that is a wonderful make for gifting. If you need a gift like for Mother's Day, since you make it up in lace weight, and if you do like I did, you choose a 100% silk or a cotton silk, something that is very, very lightweight. It's beautiful. I mean, that beautiful silver, I can wear it around my neck for Christmas with a black dress, and it will look wonderful. So if you're looking for a quick make, you need a Christmas gift, Mother's Day gift, a birthday gift, go get that pattern. Take out your lace weight. It uses a 3.25 millimeter hook, so it's not really that small a hook. And it lace weight works up, builds up slowly, but it's really, I haven't been working on it for that long. So maybe the past week or 8 or 9 days. And if it hadn't been because I didn't check my gauge, I would be finishing. But anyway, I'm still happy with it, and it will have a purpose, and it's still going to be used, and I still love the project. So thank you, Hannah, for that beautiful pattern, and I hope tons of people go to your Ravelry page and purchase that pattern, because it's good to know what I can do with lace weight. It's good to know what we can do with that. Okay, so I have worked with, I don't know if I mentioned that I was doing the doily with a 2.25 millimeter hook. This is done with a 3.25 millimeter hook. And I also picked up a project, or repicked, can I say that? I have been repurposing a project that I had abandoned. It was a year ago. If you watch this podcast frequently, it was a year ago when I first mentioned the Sege socks by Addie Day Designs and by Deanne of Addie Day Designs, and it's gone through a rough time, this pattern. It's been folded a lot, so you might not be able to see very well those socks, but they are beautiful socks. Now, a year ago I was stuck for over 11 hours in an airport in Florida, coming back from a trip to visit my children, and the trip ended up being like 23 hours or something like that, because in addition to the extra waiting time that I had at the airport, when the time came to actually take the plane, there was delay, and we were delayed for hours. So I was there forever that day. But I did get one thing out of that visit to the airport, which was one Sege sock. And you'll remember that it still hasn't been nothing has been done to it in a year. So you'll remember this sock. This is done, the leg and the top part of the foot is done in front and post double crochet and back post double crochet, and so it's very, very thick. And I think that was one of the things that demotivated me to complete the other sock, was the fact that they were so thick that I knew that I was not going to be using them on the island, because I use my crochet socks and my knit socks to run, because I do exercise a couple of times a week and I use them for my exercise. But I knew that I wouldn't be able to wear this because this is really thick. But obviously it could be used. I still have a son in New Hampshire and I have a daughter in Maryland, so when I do visits to them, I could take it there. So I did start the second sock. What happened was, this first sock, I was working it up in a size 4, and not that I remember that at all. I had to go back and see the video where I first presented this, so you guys go back and see that one too. It was my last November's video. And I was using a size 4 with a 3.5 millimeter hook. All of that I had to look up because none of that information was marked on the pattern. None of that information was, I didn't have the hook anymore in my project bag. But the thing was that once I made it, I found it to be a little bit loose on the cuff for me, even though I had gone down to a 3.25 for these final rows here. I still found it big, and I found it a little bit long here, a little bit long for on the foot, and crochet sock stretch. So I decided, oh well, I'll make the second one in a smaller size. But then after I was at the heel, I ripped it back because I didn't like the fact that the two sizes were very different. And so I just fell out of love with it and I put it away. This yarn, every time I see it, I really still like it a lot. This is an opal yarn. It is, I believe it's called Sunrise. Yes. What do you think about that? I remember. It's opal Sunrise. And I don't know if you can see how it's supposed to look. But if you see how it's supposed to look, and you look at my, this is knitting, and you look at my crochet version, they kind of look very similar. It's kind of like the patterning, the self-patterning there was not very far off. So it would be acceptable for crochet. Sometimes with self-patterning, the only thing you get in crochet is pooling, and not everybody likes that. But this one actually looks a bit similar. I mean, the lines are not as neat. They never are. The stripes are not as neat as they are for knitting. But it's very similar. I like it. So, what happened was that recently for my son's wedding, my daughter came from Maryland, and she came with her boyfriend, and he has been here a couple of times because he was here also for Clarissabeth's wedding, and he has made several comments on the things that I crochet. He saw a rug in the bathroom, and he wanted me to make one for his house. And initially I didn't know if he was just pulling my bluff. He was just bluffing. It was just, pulling my leg, because he's a guy admiring my crochet. What is this? And I mean, not that I don't want to sound right like I'm not being inclusive in this. I know there are a lot of men that crochet. Heck, I'm doing a pattern from a crochet designer who is a male, but it didn't seem to go along with his personality. That's what I'm saying. Didn't seem something that would go along with his personality. So I just, well, okay, yeah, I accepted it. Oh, well, I've got a lot of yarn there. I can make you one. But I never got around to it because I didn't take him seriously. Then when he came around this time, he talked about wanting me to make not crochet, he wanted me to make socks for him because he wanted socks to wear around the house. And so after they left, I was, I don't think I want to knit a pair of socks for somebody to wear around the house. It's like a lot of work and effort for something that's never going to go out in the town. But, I mean, it's just me thinking that. But I remembered these socks. And I remembered that I had never completed them. And I had him try on another sock, and it did fit. And this sock, this is very stretchy. It is very stretchy. It's so easy to get on. None of my crochet socks I can get them on as easy as I can get this one on. So I figured, hey, I'm going to give it a go. So here I am making it again. I kept the toe from the other version. I think I just had to add a couple of rows because it had the right amount of stitches. I had to add a couple of rows so that it would be as long as this one, so that they would be the same length, and there they are, the same length. And I am working up a size 4 in a 3.5, and I am at the point where I can begin the gusset. It's got a mini gusset of, I think there are 6 rows of gusset, and then, which could probably be why it's so easy to get on, right? Because it has that gusset there. I have found that socks with gussets tend to have a better fit on my feet, but I usually make a short row heel. So I'm going to take the time to make the gusset, and it'll have the contrasting heel, and then I'll work it back up to this size. It's still going to take me some time, but I am working on it every day for a couple of maybe 6 or 7 rounds. And yes, I have a purpose now for this. The yarn has a purpose. So That is a whip that I have revived after a year. So this, in addition to going into Claudia of the Crochet Luna's cowl for her sock themed cowl for the month of November, the sock theme has something to do with cozy. Let me see. I'm going to look it up. I've got my notes right here. And it is comfy cozy. So these are comfy cozy because of that. Those back and front post stitches, they are comfy cozy. And they have such a nice fit. They pull on very easily. And so I'm going to enter them into Claudia's November thread. Well, the thread is continuing all year long, but she's taking out prizes every quarter, so like maybe every 3 months. So these are the last 3 months, October, November, December. So this is my November. I hope I'll get a December one too. I really want to get a December one. This is my November. I am also going to enter it into a cowl being hosted by Faye of the Crochet Circle podcast, along with somebody else that I don't recognize because I don't follow or watch her podcast. But I'll put the name below. One of them has the chatter, the other one has the FO. Faye has the FO, and so I am going to enter this into her cowl. The cowl is called the Whip Rip 2019 cowl because you take your whips and you decide either to finish them or to rip them. And either way, you put photos into the finished object and the chatter threads. So I took a photo of this when I was ripping it back, and I am going to insert a photo of when I completed, and this is going to enter double dip into that cowl also. And although I always say that I don't believe that any of us should feel obligated to participate in cowls, I have heard people talk about that in the past. I'm not of that opinion because, I see there are a lot of cowls going on, but I participate in the ones that I want to participate in. I don't feel obliged at all. I don't feel obligated by any means. Not even because my favorite podcaster is having a cowl. If I can make it because I like the idea, because I think I have a project that will work, that I have yarn that will work, and I have the time, which is the most important thing, then I'll participate. But it does give you that desire to finish something when you know that you'll be able to share it with other like-minded people in these cowls. So I think cowls are very productive in that sense that they help you finish a project because if you participate in those chatter threads where you are talking with people that might be having the same situation that you are, the same concerns that you have, or you might have a problem that somebody can help you with. You might have run out of thread and somebody there has or yarn, and that person, there's somebody there that has it, they're willing to send it to you. Whatever, you get a lot of benefits out of participating in a community, and I think we all should reap those benefits by trying to participate more. And if I have a project that can double dip, triple dip, if I get this done, I can also participate in Hannah of the Cottage Crochet's Instagram cowl, an informal cowl that she has been carrying on called the Year of the Sock. Well, that one's also going in there. And so it's just a way to share with more people what you're doing, and more people to observe, to appreciate, to comment, to compliment your work. And I know that it feels great when you do handmade and other people look at it and say, oh, that looks lovely. Oh, the color is so pretty. Look at those stitches. And so comments like that help us to keep ourselves motivated in our crafting. I'm happy with that. I guess I'm happiest because it was a yarn colorway and a design that I admired so much, and yet I just abandoned it and just had it there sitting there and just felt no motivation to continue. And now that I have a purpose for it, I am motivated to finish it. And so, yay for people who appreciate handmade and especially crochet. Moving on then to I think it's going to be the final work in progress that I am going to share with you. I have begun my crafting for the holidays. I don't gift everybody from handmade because it is time consuming, but I do gift my children. They are not all as appreciative as Elizabeth, my daughter from the Crochet Cakes podcast. Not all are as appreciative of her, but the thing is that my children have good jobs, they earn a good salary, and so they can buy whatever they want for themselves. They don't need mom to buy them things anymore. So I always think about what can I get them that they won't be able to get for themselves, and the answer is always handmade. So even though they don't appreciate it as much, or at least I think they don't appreciate it as much as I would like to feel appreciated, I always end up making handmade because I think handmade things are special. Because I know my daughter will not be able to go to a shop and buy this. So I am working on a project to gift for my daughter, and I know she doesn't watch this podcast, so it's okay because it's not for Elizabeth, it's for my older daughter. And it is called the faux fur vest. It is a pattern made for Lion Brand, but you purchase it with a kit. You purchase it with a kit, so I purchased the kit of this yarn that I don't think I happen to have in here, but I think I did show it to you the last time. This pattern, although you purchase it, you can purchase it with a kit on Lion Brand. You can also work from the designer's blog and, well, get it for free. And it's making me itchy. It's making my nose itch. And it doesn't have any wool in it. This is 100%, I believe, polyester. I'll check into that in a moment. So you can go to the designer's blog. She is Mama in a Stitch. Mama in a Stitch. Crochet. She might be a knitting designer also for Lion Brand in particular. But a lot of her patterns are available on her blog. And so that's the vest. There are several colorways. I am making mine in the colorway called Chinchilla. Chinchilla. And this is what I have so far. Well, I do have the band here. Go for faux. In case you didn't understand what I was saying, there's the Chinchilla colorway. But basically here it is. This is what's going to happen. It is basically a rectangle which has these two holes. And well, it has two holes. Mine only has one because I haven't reached the other side of it. And then it comes to the front. It'll form a slight collar. It'll form a slight collar at the top. And it will kind of like fold to the front like that. Okay? I am making this in size large. Or the last size for her is large, extra large. And one of the problems that I encountered was that the front block here, this front part, and the back part in the design were the same size, were the same number of rows. Let's put it that way. So if this had 19 rows here, the back had 19 rows. And I couldn't understand why that would happen because I thought that the 19 rows would take me to the center of the back and then I would need 19 more to reach the side. That's what I thought. But the pattern was not written that way. I wrote to the designer and she said, well, if I felt that I needed to add more rows, I could add them. But there's a point here on the side where she joins the armhole. here she's got a series of, this is all single crochet in the back loop, and here she has a series of treble crochets, and she said that those treble crochets on the side would allow flexibility for the back to stretch enough, even though it didn't have the same amount of rows as I thought, even though it had a small number of rows. But I read the reviews, and I went to her Instagram page also, and I read comments from some of the people that were making the pattern, and they actually said that they found it very uncomfortable to wear because they did find that the back pulled. Now, this could be a matter of gauge and all that kind of stuff. With this, I mean, there was no way that I was going to measure gauge with this yarn. You can't even see your stitches. I mean, you can't even see this crochet. I wonder if you could see the difference between knitting with this and crochet. I can feel the stitches, but I can't see them. And so part of the suggestions when you work in your rows is to feel for the stitches, and that's what I have to do all the time. I can't see anything, and so in order to work my stitches as I am working through it, I put my finger through the back, and so that I know where the stitch is and I feel for that back loop. Some people just decided not to do the back loop and just worked straight through the stitch because they found it too difficult, but I've been okay. If I do that, if I put my finger through the stitch first, I can feel for that back loop. And I can work it up fairly. I mean, this has been done in a couple of weeks, and only because I work on it a little bit each day. I would have been able to finish it already because I was basically using a whole skein of yarn, sitting down until I crocheted up the whole skein. But so I'm hoping it's going to fit, but I'm not totally convinced that it will. But if not, I guess I'll just keep it for myself. I decided to make it longer. My daughter's a big woman. She's tall, and so she might like it longer instead of a cropped version. I think hers is cropped. Now I have to see if I'll have enough yarn. I bought the number of skeins for an extra large. Let's see. Maybe I'm hoping that her version didn't use all of the thread, so I'll have enough for the additional stitches that I have added to it. And in addition, I also added double the amount of rows at the back, or close to it. If it was supposed to be 9 or 10 rows, whatever, I did double. I think it might have been 15 rows, and I did 25. It might work, right? It might work. It's not a garment that has fit to it. It's a very simple design. I mean, you could probably do the same thing with any chunky yarn. It's just that, or super bulky, whatever it is. It's just that with this yarn, it looks so beautiful because it's so fluffy. There were some comments when I went to buy the project. People were complaining that the yarn shedded a lot. I don't have that problem. I'm pulling on it, and I don't think it has an excessive shed problem. Sure, it might have some hairs that are going to stick to if you put a turtleneck under it or something like that, but I guess you would expect that from anything that's furry like this. But I just had so much fun making this up. It is so squishy. It's just like crocheting with a fluffy toy in your hands all the time. It's just cuddling up with something, cuddling up with your favorite pet, or cuddling up with your favorite toy, stuffed toy. And so it's been fun. And I think that's partially why I haven't wanted to finish making it, because I was actually enjoying it enough to want to continue to work on it and prolong it a bit more. I think I'm making good time. It is a Christmas gift, and I think I'll be able to send it out early in December so that she can receive it along with the socks for her boyfriend. And I think I'm going to make it, guys. I think for the first time I am on time with my holiday crochet, and that is a good thing for me to say, a good thing for me to share with you all. It's keeping me happy. I mean, I'm still on that high note coming down from October, coming out of October. I still feel happy about my makes. I am very happy with the progress that I am making. And so nothing is weighing me down at this point. Nothing is weighing me down. I'm in a happy state, and I think that's good for me. I think that is good for me. On that note of being in a happy state, I wanted to share with you guys a package that I received in the mail, a happy mail package, or what Elizabeth and I used to call a care package from a lovely viewer. I haven't spoken to her, so I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, that she won't be upset that I am going to share this information with you. But she sent me a package, very kind to send me. So here she sent me a package, a little care package of yarn. Aren't these beautiful Rikarumi cotton yarns? And look at those colors. This looks to me like a autumn reef. It is so pretty. But then I'm actually thinking about working up those rings of change with this yarn. So it's very pretty. I love those colors. She also sent me some minis from one of my favorite dyers, Crafternoon Treats. In addition to being a favorite dyer, I also consider her a friend because, and not only virtual, we have met in real life, and I believe that the virtual connection that we felt was still carried on in real life. I mean, I felt very comfortable with her. We had a lot of things in common. We were able to talk, and so I appreciate her dearly, dearly. And in addition, she gifted me this crochet pin. And I think that is lovely. I think that is lovely. And I love the fact that it's knit because I crochet. And I know she crochets also. She crochets and she knits. But she sent me something knit. So how wonderful is that? How beautiful is that? And so I think for the upcoming season, that is going to work nicely. That is going to work nicely. So I want to thank her very much. I'm not going to mention her name. She knows who she is. If she watches the podcast, she knows who she is because like I said, I didn't request her permission to talk about her, but I am very grateful. And in that appreciation, with the desire to show my appreciation, is the reason why I share it with you. Not because I want to brag about what I've received, not because I want to make her feel bad, but I want to show appreciation by sharing with all of you what I have received. So in the package, she has also included some stickers, lovely butterfly stickers, some stationery, notes in quotes is this called, and it has got, it's full of quotes. It's got, I think, let me see, it's true. Yeah, every page has a quote. For example, this one says, "In the end, it's not the years of your life that count. It's the life in your years." And I think that's a great note, right? She sent me a calendar. Little does she know that every year I put a new calendar on my refrigerator, and this is the calendar that's going to be on my refrigerator every day this year, reminding me of the beauties of Great Britain and that I had a friend that gifted them to me. So I'm very happy to receive all of that. Here's a pen from Manchester for my project bag. And so I am really happy to have received that from her. Let me also mention that she has an Etsy shop. She is Hook Loop Knits. Hook Loop Knits on Etsy. She makes beautiful tea cozies, knit and crochet, along with other things like mug cozies, and I also saw fingerless mitts there that she also sells. And so I had been eyeing her since we did the In Harmony crochet along, because she had posted one of her projects as an entry for that crochet along, and so I have gone there. I went for a while back and she was closed for holidays for a vacation, so I have since returned and purchased red chili pepper tea cozy. Okay, so thank you for joining me today. It has been I've had a great time chatting to you. As a matter of fact, I've been very chatty. This is a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. So I hope to see you sometime soon this week. And until we meet again, keep yourself safe, keep yourself happy, keep crafting. I'll see you soon. If you have liked this episode, hit the like button below if you want to be notified every time I upload a video to this YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button and the notifications button. And let's continue here our friendship on YouTube. Thanks for joining me today. Bye, guys.